And so what I want to do now is, assuming everybody grabbed that folder, let's go ahead and do a quick exercise with one asset that I downloaded that you could also access on Stock, and another piece of clip art that I just downloaded from the web, and maybe you're using the title. Okay, so go ahead and launch Premiere, and let's just name it our usual name, exercise, today's date. Right, so we'll do, just name it exercise, today's date, and save it in your exercise folder like we've done 100 times. Right, spring 2023. Wait a second, there it is. There's my exercise folder, select, okay. Boom, 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 and create. Right, so I get my basic workspace, and I'm going to import that folder. Okay, and I have it, where did I put it? I put it right here. Spring 2023, let's bring it in here. There it is. There's the folder I sent everybody. Clips for 4/17/23 Adobe Stock exercise. Okay. Open that up. It only has 2 clips in it. The one clip that's called clip free art, I'm gonna make that a little bigger, is actually a clip I downloaded online, just a still image. Pretty nice, high res. If you right click on it, you can check the properties. Right here, you can see that it's actually huge. Look at that. Okay, because we're going to work in 1920 by 1080, so this thing's a monster, which is nice. It's better to have something huge and bring it in a HD, gives you some flexibility. And then this is another Adobe Stock, as you can see, identified here by the name, and then I added my my name here. I guess I don't know if I even, that may have already been named that. And when you click on this, you hit click play, and this is just like these slow moving clouds. And it's about 18 seconds of this, which is pretty cool, right? So again, something you didn't have to shoot. Here's an asset they're giving you. How do you want to use it? All right, so you've got video and a still image. Okay, do a quick save so you got that. All right, so you import the clips in, right click, new item to do a sequence, right? And we're going to grab the third folder down, right? Expand that. If it's not already, go down to 1080p and select this sequence, right? These settings right here. Okay. Click OK. You do that, right? It creates it populates your timeline, gives you a few video tracks and audio tracks. And then come on back up here and just name this sequence exercise. I'm just gonna say exercise 1 for tonight, right? And then save again. Okay. We've got 3 videos. There's no audio on this for now, so I'm going to reposition my tracks a little bit so I can have more room for my video and expand my video tracks a little bit, make them a little taller. There we go. So I got 3 layers right there. Okay. And go ahead and grab your this clip, the clip art, right? And bring that down to let me see here. Yeah. Video 3. Bring that down to video 3. It might be real small. You might have to magnify down here in your timeline, right? Okay. And so you can see it's going to be huge, right? It's going to be massive because you're just seeing like this part of the mountain because it's, you know, like 10 times the size, actually more about like almost 4 times the size of your settings. So we're going to scale that down in a minute, but we'll do that in a sec. Right. And bring the clouds, right? And we're going to bolt that down on video 1, right? So this shot, right? So this is all 1920. Bring that down. You can see it's a lot longer. And you can see immediately because this clip art that I brought in, because this part was black, it actually was alpha. And so this is easy because it lets me see that background. Now you may have you're going to find some of this stuff that's going to have white. So technically this really isn't clip art because it already has the alpha cut out. But if it was white, then you could cut the white out and still see those clouds behind it using your color key. Okay. But here I happened to get lucky and found this nice mountain image. Now you can see this is, like I said, about 18 seconds. So go ahead and extend your artwork here. Because remember, anything like that, like a still image, a graphic image, it's infinite length. Okay, it doesn't have a finite duration like video does. Video has a finite duration. But you bring a still in here, it's going to default and give you 5 seconds, but you can stretch it out, whether you create it yourself or whatever. Okay, so that way it gives us a little bit more time to play around with this, right? So if you kind of scrub through this, right, the image, the mountain's just kind of sitting there, and there's the clouds behind it. So let's go ahead and get a better view of this. So now we'll click on the top layer here, right, this clip-free mountain. Click on it, go into Effects Controls. Okay. Turn on your position and your scale. And now we need to actually reduce the size of this, right? Because right now, even if we're going to do a move, we're only going to see like, we're only going to see like this one little narrow part of it. We want to see the whole mountain range with the little trees and all that. So we have to scale it down to make it fit, right, our dimensions, to use it, I would say, at a more effective level. So go ahead and scale down, right? I added a keyframe at the very beginning of it for scale and position. Right? I'm in this mountain clip art thing, right? So I'm going to scale it down. You can see now as you scale it down, you see all the little, ground cover and all that. All right. Bring it down to like 33. Enter. And it should size up just nice. So you can see all of the ground and the mountain. Now it gives you a little more room in the background. Okay. So now when you scroll through, right, there's the mountain, the clouds and stuff. The clouds are only 18 seconds. Okay, save that. So we went to the beginning of mountain clip art, whatever, added keyframe, turned on position and scale, rescaled it to 33. We haven't done anything with position now. Okay, but now when you looked at that image, it's kind of a horizontal shot, right? So because it's so big, it's nice and wide. So we're going to actually do a keyframe and a second keyframe at the end and do a pan and just kind of like pan across the mountain. Okay. So again, this is how you can work. This also would have been some of you, I can't remember, but could have easily have done this on project 3. So come to position and adjust your X. And you see you've got more image left over because, right, there's a little bit more to the left. So I'm adjusting my position. You see, I'm panning it to the right, so to speak. There's the edge of it. So let me line it right up. So I'm at about 1319, 1320. And then I'm going to go to the very end of the clip, right? Towards the end. I'll add another keyframe. And I'll adjust the horizontal position again. This time I'll pull it to the left, and that way it's going to give me a pan. So I'm setting that. See, there's the end of it. So let me put it back. So it continues right there. Okay. And so now, save that. Okay. It's going to, move across the mountain. And now you've got, so you're animating the still image, but you're also using video to give you a video quality in the background. And you're using 2 layers, right? So you've got motion effects working here. You've got multiple layers, and you're using 2 types of assets. So this is an example of something you can totally do on Project 5, just as an example. right? Now it's a little picky because it's a little, it's buffering a little bit because it has to be rendered. And of course, this top layer is pretty good high res, and we scaled it down. So now if you're like, okay, well, I want to mess with the mountains a little bit, right? If you want, you can actually click on the mountain layer below it. And now you're on that layer, right? Aerial clouds. And this is what you're up here. You can see it listed here, right? Remember, whenever you click, you see that layer in the little timeline in the effects control. Come back down to Adobe Clouds. There it is. Let me play with position and scale. Okay. Well, if you want, you could scale this down. So you could actually maybe, well, you don't want to scale too much actually. So let's leave that alone. But you can reposition if you want to, for example, have more clouds. See, if you go too high, then you'll reveal the bottom of that layer, but you've got mountains down here. So you can, you can kind of play with that. So this gives me a little bit more mountain action. If I want to play with, I'm playing with the Y value, you see? And so now as I play it, maybe I like that little formation. It's less sky, giving me a little bit more clouds, right? So I've adjusted both layers with keyframes, scaled the top one down, and then did like essentially an animation. So it looks like so it kind of looks like you're moving in a car maybe, right? And the background is moving with the cloud. Okay. And then you've got actual video in the background able to take advantage of that because that background was black, which meant in this case, it was actually alpha. It was transparency. And all you had to do was drop it into Premiere, and you could tell immediately when you drop that layer behind it that you could see it. Okay, so now, hopefully you've got those two layers going and you played around with the clouds and the mountain, and you've got the mountain moving and the clouds behind it. Now, let's say you could get creative here. What could you do with this? Well, if you want, like I was thinking, this could be fun, like, I don't know, just a creative idea as maybe a way to introduce your project or something, or if you wanted to put a title here. And so that way you'd be taking advantage of the layering between these two layers. So let's just try that. Let's go ahead and add our Essential Graphics panel here, right? If you go to Window, Essential Graphics, and we'll just do a simple title. Right? So we'll go to Edit, a new layer, right? Text. Let me resize this a little bit so I can see what I'm doing, and I'm gonna put it over here, and I'm gonna make it a little bigger so it kind of fills in that area. And I'm just gonna write, like, for example, Project 5. Maybe I'll do Prof G. There you go, but Prof G. Okay. And then right now I'm in a Tahoma font. I'm not gonna mess around with it too much. I'm just gonna make it bold. So I have to first go like this. There you go. Then I'll make it bold. There you go. So it gives me a little thicker font, right? I'll position that right in here. And then I'm going to color it a little bit, right? So I'm going to come down here on the fill. Yeah, make it stand out a little bit, right? And stroke. Maybe I'll do something funky like a blue stroke. Yeah, there you go. And I'll make that stroke maybe a little bigger. Oops, not too big. Something like that. And background shadow. I'm going to do a little shadow. Add a little shadow down here, right? So this is dragging down to get more into some of the properties. Maybe make the shadow fall off a little bit, not too much. Maybe increase the opacity a little bit. There you go. I'll leave it at that, right? So I create a title. Now by default, it looks like it created in my timeline. Right, so that's created. So let me click away for a minute. And I'm going to close the Essential Graphics here after I save, just to give me some more real estate, right? So that way I got a little more space. And you can see that here it actually put it on layer 4, actually created a layer to accommodate it, right? Which is fine, right? But I don't want it there. I'm actually going to grab it and bring it down here. So on the screen, it doesn't look any different, but what I want to do is animate this, right? And I want to reveal it from behind the mountain, right? Right? But I want it to be in front of the clouds, right? So by putting it here, it's going to be in front of the clouds, but behind the mountain. Okay, so if I animate it, so let's say I want to have it up, and as I get to the mountain, it'll dissolve or something, right? So I'm going to click on it, and I'm really just going to play with position here, right? And I'm going to go ahead and push it down. See, and it goes like behind the mountain, right? And then as I get to the end of it, you know, I'll have it towards the end, I'll position it, and then I'll bring it back up. So it will rise up. And maybe I'll early that up so it'll get there a little sooner and sit there for a minute, right? And so you'll start your animation and that will come up. And there you're using, for example, 3 layers. Now this, you could do this with anything, right? You could have balloons flying behind the mountain. So here you've got, and one of the reasons I'm specifically doing this is when we look at, I'll look at some, you know what, I'll pull it up later too when we come back from break real quick, some Project 5 goals. I don't know if I've gone over them, but you know, you want to incorporate the tools in Premiere. Show me some layers, show me some use of some of these tools, some of these techniques. You don't have to do it on every single clip all the way through, but give me evidence that you're using Premiere. So this would be an example, for example, that here I've got, okay, I'm incorporating video and a still image, right? I'm incorporating some layers, and I've got motion effects working. So that sounds like fun. And you know what? I'm going to add a dissolve right here at the end of this thing. So let me go to effects, video transitions, dissolve, and apply a cross dissolve at the end of that. I'm going to click on it, and instead of a minute, I'm just going to make it like 15 frames, right? So now, right, as I get this move going, boom, there it comes up, Project 5, my Prof G, it fades out. Did that fade out like really quick? Yeah, that was okay. That's fine, right? And then I keep going. Okay. So now for fun, we're going to add one more layer. Okay, so go ahead and try to get that going. And I'm actually going to email everybody one clip. I'm just going to email it to you directly so you can just download it. I won't use whatchamacallit, OneDrive. I'm going to email everybody. Stand by. Okay, it just sent. So check your email and you should be able to download just this image. It's about 500 kilobytes. It's not even a meg, very small. Should be easy to bring in. Okay. It'll look like this. Look like that. Our clip art, little attachment. Bring it in. And then import it into Premiere, right? So once you get it in, put it where you need to put it. Go ahead and just import it into Premiere. All right, and it should look like this when you bring it in. It's like a little red SUV, and it's got a black background. Okay, so now we're going to take this car, and just for fun, let's put it up on layer 4, which was created when we created the title, sort of accidentally, but we'll just take advantage of that. Okay, and here we go. First off, I want to maybe expand that track height a little bit. So I'm going to click and drag down. Actually, no, the other way. I'm going to pull up, and I'm going to pull up on 4, so it makes that track a little taller. I'm going to actually reposition down here. Just increase the height of these tracks a little bit. Okay, so we've got right? Our mountain, clouds title, and I think I must have gotten rid of my little car here for some reason. So I'm not sure what I did. Let me bring him back in. There he is. Okay. All right, and there he is. And so just drop him down on 4 and maybe position it after the title goes away. So the title fades out, but of course right now he's going to be huge and we're just going to scale him down. Okay. So because he's got black behind him, that's actually serving as alpha. It looks like actually the windows are actually cut out, but that's fine because it kind of looks normal. So click on that, go into the effects control and just scale the car down. Scale position, right? I'm going to scale him down and we can make it. And if you want, use your, remember your direct manipulation tool right here, which is like a transform tool. You can click on that and it puts these little, it puts it in this little bounding box, right? Click it on motion, it gives you that direct, and then you can position it down here. Let's make it even smaller, right? Just make it like this little car that's going to be running down, you know, it's 4-wheeling. Okay, click away. So now you've got this car. Now make it go across the screen. So as this is coming up, maybe we can introduce it a little bit after the title clears the mountain, right? Right, and what we're going to do is we'll extend it all the way across the duration of the image, right? So it's up that whole time, but now we will animate it. Okay, so we scaled him down. I clicked on him and we went over here and I've scaled him down to about 36. And I positioned him just, you know, so he's kind of like, looks like he's sort of like 4-wheeling on the turf there. Okay. And clicking on him again. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to position him and I'm going to actually start him off screen and have him just sort of come across the screen. Right. Right. So I will take his position on the X and push him off screen. Okay, and then I'll go towards the end here. And before it ends, I will click on that. And now I don't see that area, so you might have to drag this. Hang on a second. I'm not sure why it's not letting me see that point. There it is. It's right over there. Hang on a second. Might have to expand that timeline area. There it is. See, so I had to expand that a little bit to reveal that part of the clip. And I'll take it to about here. And I'll add another keyframe. And what we'll do is we'll push him off screen. We'll take him all the way off screen. And then between those two keyframes, of course, he will do the full range of motion. Right? So he goes off screen. So now, when you play this back, again, it's another layer, might be a little buffery. It's going to play. Here comes Project 5. Boom. Here comes your car. And he's cruising along. Now, if you really, really wanted to get crazy with this, this would take some Photoshop skill, right? So you see what's happening. So it's moving across screen. And because you've got the mountain moving, it kind of looks like he's moving, you know, because the mountain's moving. It's going behind him. So if you were really, really crazy, you could blow this back up, bring it in full size, bring it into Photoshop. And if you had the skill, you could cut the tires out. Okay. And replace it on the image and actually play with the anchor point and make it just spin. So the tires actually would spin. Okay. So there's a challenge for anybody who wants to try that kind of stuff. Or if you draw your own image and the tires would be a separate layer, then you can do that. And we covered anchor point earlier in the semester. That's where you redefine the center of an image. So depending how you want to rotate something, it either rotates around the center axis, which would mean it would be a propeller, or if that anchor point is off the edge, then it would be like a lever, right? We did one of those like a month, 2 months ago, I think. Anyway, so again, just trying to give you some ideas and trying to incorporate a little bit of the Adobe assets. So here we've got, that, and I've got this. You can see this stuff I downloaded. This is all free. This other stuff I got online, right? And of course, the other sites where you guys can get, where everybody can get some images, all right? So just for grins, we'll just go ahead and render this, see how it all plays out, and take a look at it. Okay, there we go. So now it's playing through. Nope, we got a little flash there. Not sure what that's all about. Could just be a little hiccup. Right, so he's coming up. Oh. So we did like something there with the keyframe. I'm not sure why it did that. Okay. So this is why you always want to check your exports, folks. Okay, so it's somehow it doesn't like something with the title, but the title's not really doing much. It's just kind of coming up. Something's hitting it right there. So I'm not sure what. I'll have to fix it. And maybe it's when the car comes in. I'm not sure. The scale, the position. So I'm gonna take the car out of there for a minute, see if that makes a difference. Unless there's something with the car. So I'm gonna render this this is just me troubleshooting here for a minute. Taking the car out of the equation, see if it still does that. All right, so that's coming up, that's nice and smooth. Okay. So maybe there was some issue with the car. It could be my computer saying, yeah, it's kind of a lot to handle. I don't know. But here's a trick, what you can do. So here's a little trick. So I'm going to go ahead and export this background, and then I'm just going to drop this on top. And I mentioned this, I think, last week to some people, like if you're doing like essential graphics or something, and it's like a lot to render, because if you drop it in and you accidentally adjust it with other stuff in your sequence, it's going to have to render. But if that's going to be kind of a standalone thing that you can sort of transition in and out of, do it as a separate timeline, a sequence, export it, and then re-import it. Okay, so let me show you that basic concept, not so much using the essential graphics, but I've got my background here, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce all this down to one layer. Now, it's not, you can think about nesting. You could nest it, but it's still, all those layers are still there. So I have a theory that my computer might be having a hard time, maybe because some of this stuff is higher res. I'm not sure, but I know I can probably make this easier on the computer by reducing all of this keyframing and all of this stuff that's happening here by exporting it and re-importing it. Because when I re-import it in a new sequence, all that keyframing, all of that stuff I did is gone. It doesn't register that. It's already sort of like baked into the clip, right? So this is a little trick, right, that I'm going to try, and I'm going to see if it solves what I'm doing. So there it is. I've got it. I'm going to go ahead and export just this section. You see how I marked the in and the out, right, on these 3 layers, right? So it's not going to export this, right? And I'm going to go here, export, and I'm going to say, let's see, exercise 1. I'm going to call this exercise 1 BG for background. And sure, I'll go ahead and just keep it in the YouTube format. And you see it's going to be source in and out, right? If I click here and I said entire source, that means it's going to do the entire timeline. But this is only going to take the in to out, right? So it's only exporting from there to there. It's not going to export this. It's going to only export in to out. Okay, so that's how I can separate just that section, right? So I'm going to export, and I'm going to actually re-export this. I'm going to export it back into this folder for a minute. into my little exercise thing, right? Which was in Montgomery College, spring. I'm gonna bring it back into that clips, into that same folder that we brought everything in on. Okay. Save. So it's going in there. Then I want to export. Okay. So it shouldn't take too long. Here we go. It's going to be done in about 15 seconds. And then I will re-import it back into my whatchamacallit, my project panel. Okay, there it was. It was exported. Good. So now I'm just going to go get it. I'm going to click and I put it in this folder here, right? The folder that we brought in, clips for 417, and there's exercise 1BG, background, open. So here it is right here, right? So here it is now exported. And let's make sure it plays clean. Okay, we look pretty good. Yeah, good. Okay, great. So now I'm going to bring this down and put it here, right? Now it's got a little bit of black there, so I'm going to have to trim that black. No, no black. It's good. But see now the difference. You understand what I'm doing here. See this layer now below, right? It's all mixed in. Okay, so there's the car. And it flies off and we keep going. So now let's see how this works. So now we're going to just render this little section, right? Save it, and now we'll render. I don't need all this audio. Doesn't really matter. Sequence, render in, out. So this is me kind of tricking the computer a little bit. Okay. Everybody thinks the computers are smarter than we are, but we're actually smarter than they are. We invented them. See, so now I don't have that problem. So whatever it was doing, this hopefully alleviated that problem because I took all of that keyframing out of this clip. So this computer isn't having to, you know, walk a tightrope, balance a bunch of dishes, quote Shakespeare and chew gum at the same time, right? I'm making an analogy. It's because I exported and brought it back in, it alleviated all of that. It alleviated all of that processing on the computer. Now, all it really is doing on that specific section of the clip is just keyframing that car and, you know, scaled it down and keyframing it across the screen instead of doing a whole bunch of stuff on 4 layers, which, again, maybe my computer just didn't like it. But now it's fine. See, so now I could take this and put this in whatever final sequence, and I can make duplicates of this and just save this part over here in a separate sequence and just leave this only in this sequence and attach it to whatever else is happening. Okay,